Okay, so this is Psalms 30 through 31. So in 30, it starts out praising God for all that he has done for you. He's rescued you, he's restored you, or is in the process of restoring you. And that, when we go through these, sometimes, when God is trying to discipline you, it talks about in the scriptures, his anger is for a moment, but his favor is for a lifetime, or his promise is for a lifetime. And I think that's really, something to remember. When we go through things, it's just for a moment because the promise is for a lifetime. And something I heard the other day is to think of yourself as God's favorite. And I'm trying really hard to do that myself, to just start picturing myself as his favorite, and I know he doesn't have favorites, but if you can think about yourself as his favorite, like even like sometimes, your children might say, am I your favorite? Have that kind of childlike faith that maybe you're his favorite. And another thing that I think is really important is knowing why you were created. If you know the promises that God has for you, if you know the future that he has for you, it gives you a reassurance to hang on, to keep pushing through, because I think that's one of the hardest things for us is when we're going through trials. It's sometimes really hard to keep hanging on. But just have that assurance that God is coming through for you. He has a promise and a future for you, and that mourning will turn into dancing. And so I just think that's something really important for us to hang on to. And then in 31, Psalms 31, this is one of those Psalms when you're needing to cry out to God. This is your Psalms. Go to this one and just, if you don't even know what to say, just read the words that are in the Psalms, because it is crying out to God. And it talks about God as your rock and he's your refuge, and that to commit your soul and your spirit to God, so he can redeem you and redeem all the broken pieces of you. And but the part with the crying out, it's like in your grief and your sorrow and your pain and your inner being. This is the pain and the anguish that's inside of you. But you can trust in God. You can trust in his promises. And to remember the big picture. Like we get so narrow-minded and so focused on self that we can forget the big picture. The big picture of each of our lives, but also the big picture of the world and God. And so sometimes we can get lost in all of that. So, I like to tell people, we're a piece of the puzzle, and God is this big, huge puzzle, and we're just a piece in the puzzle, but we're necessary, because nobody likes doing a puzzle where there's an empty spot, when you try to finish it. And so you need all the pieces of the puzzle, to be put together, but your puzzle piece has to be completed as well. Your piece is a puzzle within a puzzle, if that makes any sense. And then God stores up treasures for us in heaven. So the things that we do here on earth, the things that we sow, we can reap the benefits of that in heaven. And I think that instead of looking for earthly things to bring us satisfaction or comfort or, appreciation or whatever, you're looking for, just seek that reward in heaven instead of here on earth. And he preserves the faithful. So we are to wait on the Lord. Wait on the Lord. Like I had said in a previous one, waiting is entwining your heart with God's. And so when we're entwined with God, we wait on him. We wait for him to come through for whatever the situation is that we're going through. And he preserves the faithful. So I think that's just all really important little nuggets that I got from these two Psalms. Remember, Psalms 31 is a great one when you are in pain and sorrow and grief and you just want to cry out to God. Just read the Psalms, when we don't know what to say. But I love all of these Psalms because they're crying out to God, And then there's resolution. You know, he's faithful and he preserves you.